Gary, is there one question perhaps that you have never asked yourself for your entire life? And maybe the omission of this question is significant in a way, obviously, you will not realise because you're not cognizant of the fact that you've never asked it. What I hope to explore in a series of videos that will follow is the specific question that nobody asks when we are looking at the current state of the world. So at the moment, if you think that there are major issues on the planet and maybe you're questioning your existence by looking at religion, mythology, looking at broader issues of macroeconomics, politics, spirituality, all the varying different ways that we question life, let's say, is there the omission of one question that's critical that literally frames everything as subordinate? Now, if that is the case, then if we are to follow a line in questioning by asking the omission of this one singular question, will that orientate us towards understanding the way how the world works in a completely different way, but in such a way that we will start to empower ourselves with the potential that we feel that we don't have. So currently, narratives proliferate without end, it would seem, always trying to give context to what's occurring. So whether or not you externalize an issue and it's some great they or cabal that is orchestrating some kind of prison planet scenario, whether or not you are beholden to, the aliens that are going to somehow come down, or we're going to have some grand meeting and that in and of itself is a revelation, or whether or not you are going backwards and looking at perhaps ancestry or a religiosity that your ancestors had, and that in some way if you regain that is going to give meaning to your existence now and maybe potentially orientate a different fate for yourself and perhaps others if you share the same concern. But all these ways of looking at where we are now are ultimately derivative. And how can I say that? Well, what is the one question that we refuse to ask that it is significant in a way that we cannot imagine? So let's think of this. Are you a person? Now you would say, of course I am a person. How could I not be a person? But are you credited as a person? Let's go one step further. Are you credited that you are life? That you are the expression of life? Do your own actions support that? Are you indivisibly given towards your very birth, your very existence? Now we would say that seems a strange way to ask a question. Of course I'm a person. Of course I'm life. But is life qualified through a process in such a way that what we presuppose is actually subordinate? So how are you given? If we look at the current paradigm, what's the paradigm that we all share? Now is that commerce? Is our civilization nothing but commercial? And if that is the case, and it'd be hard pressed not to say that it isn't, then how are we given when life is commercial? Now, if we are given in a specific way, what is that way? And does the way that we are given discount the life that we presuppose that we are, or the people that we are? Now, this is key, because within that orientation of questioning opens up a way to understand where you are, ultimately the opportunity cost of your actions, and therefore the potential of your actions if you become an agent for change. And especially if what you share, what is the common denominator that you share with other people, is such that if people recognize this, start to understand the significance of their actions and work in a cohesive way to create beyond what is accepted as a bequeathal that is handed down without the requisite thinking to have awareness about the way how the world works, well then that orientates in a way that creates a legacy, that ultimately we will be the architects of, and our descendants will be the beneficiaries. So how are you given now when you're given as commercial? Can we say that you are given as the product of commercial civilization? If that's the case, then we are a product. People know that we're a product, do they not? We know we are consumers. Now, if we are consumers, then, and we're looking at questions of economy, is the economy external to ourselves? Or is the economy rather a process to produce the consumer, to sanction the way things are given? If that is the case, there is only one trade that we are practicing. There is only one production process we are engaged with. Everything else is subordinate, because if the principal product of commercial civilization is to produce a form of life of the consumer, it's to sanction the way things are given. Now, when we question that, when we think of, okay, we are the product, then what we are forcing upon our consciousness is to ask the solitary question of how do we produce ourselves as consumers? Have you ever asked yourself that singular question? And is this the only question we need to ask if we are to look at the state of the world and potentialize change, potentialize an understanding that becomes an embodied wisdom and ultimately a praxis or an ethos that we hand down to our descendants? These are the questions, or this is the solitary question that we are going to follow when we explore what does it mean to be a consumer. And in so doing, chart out a course that if you are given in like manner, like everyone is on the face of the planet, when you engage in that questioning, what you are going to share is that you are going to share something, a commonality with other people in a way where ultimately what it's going to do, it's going to congeal into an out. Okay, so that's ultimately what I will be engaging with. This is a preface to the videos that will follow, and this is the one singular question that's going to be our touchstone, it's going to be foundational for everything that we explore. So this relates to the spirituality. This relates to questions of money, of a social proof, of the principal trade. What is the means that we utilize to produce ourselves as consumers? Is culture an asset, or is culture embodied? All these questions and many more will congeal around that one solitary question. And when you ask it, it's going to force something upon your cognitive domain where you are going to question outside of the bounds of what you accepted. So once again, if you are questioning the way how the world is, the state of affairs, and you have engaged in questioning and you are seeking potentially a answer or an understanding, well, what's that in aid of? Is that just a pastime, or is it to potentialize your time beyond the way how that you otherwise accept your time? And if it is that, then it's orientated towards praxis or towards action. It is orientated towards a futural bequeathal, a legacy. There's no point engaging in superfluous questioning as an idle pastime, as if it's not orientated towards actually addressing the issue through the awareness, the understanding that you gain through it. And that's essentially what we're going to be charting out in the ensuing episodes that follow. So cheers.